Emily Carter had built her life on certainty. At just 38, she was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America, the fearless CEO of a global technology empire that employed thousands of people. Every decision she made was based on logic, evidence, and careful planning. Emotions rarely influenced her judgment. To the outside world, Emily seemed unstoppable, a woman who could negotiate billion-dollar deals before lunch and still attend charity galas by evening. Yet there was one role she valued more than being a billionaire: being a mother. 6 years earlier, after years of struggling with infertility, Emily had adopted a beautiful baby girl named Lily. From the very first moment she held the tiny infant in her arms, Emily knew her life had changed forever. Lily became the center of her universe. Every success Emily achieved meant little compared to hearing her daughter laugh or watching her run into her arms after school. One bright Monday morning, Emily decided to bring Lily to the company's headquarters. The little girl loved visiting the massive glass building with its sparkling floors, colorful workspaces, and friendly employees who always greeted her with smiles. As Emily walked through the marble lobby with a group of senior executives discussing an upcoming merger worth billions, Lily skipped happily beside her, holding a stuffed rabbit in one hand. Suddenly, Lily stopped walking. She stared toward the far end of the hallway where an elderly janitor was quietly mopping the floor. His gray uniform was worn, and his silver hair peeked out from beneath an old baseball cap. He worked silently, barely noticing the people rushing past him. Without warning, Lily's eyes filled with excitement. "Dad!" she shouted. Before anyone could react, she dropped her rabbit and sprinted across the lobby. The executives fell silent. Emily froze. Lily wrapped both arms tightly around the janitor's waist as if she had known him all her life. The old man nearly dropped his mop. He looked down at the little girl in complete disbelief, his weathered face filled with confusion. "My little girl," he whispered before quickly stopping himself, as though the words had escaped without permission. The lobby became eerily quiet. Employees paused their conversations. Security guards exchanged puzzled glances. Emily hurried across the floor, gently pulling Lily back. "Lily," she said softly but firmly, "this isn't your father." "But it is," Lily insisted, her voice full of certainty. "I know him." The janitor shook his head immediately. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said respectfully. "She's mistaken. I've never met her before." His voice was calm, but Emily noticed something strange. His hands were trembling. And his eyes. They looked as though they were holding back years of pain. Something about the moment didn't feel like a simple misunderstanding. Emily couldn't explain why, but she couldn't ignore the feeling growing inside her. As the janitor quietly returned to his work, Lily kept looking back at him with tears forming in her eyes. Emily had never seen her daughter react to a stranger that way before. The incident stayed in her mind throughout the day. By evening, curiosity had replaced confusion. As CEO, Emily had access to one of the best private investigation teams in the country. She gave them only one instruction. "I want to know everything about the janitor." The investigators began immediately. Within 24 hours, the first report arrived. According to company records, the janitor's name was Daniel Brooks. He was 62 years old. He had no criminal record. No close relatives. No social media. Almost no public history. It was as if he had disappeared from the world decades earlier. Emily frowned. People didn't simply erase themselves like that. She ordered a deeper investigation. 3 days later, the lead investigator entered her office carrying a thick classified-looking folder. His expression alone told Emily the report contained something extraordinary. He carefully placed the folder on her desk. "You were right to ask questions," he said quietly. "This man isn't just a janitor." Emily opened the file. Her heart skipped a beat. The first page revealed military records that had remained sealed for years. Daniel Brooks had once been one of the most decorated Navy SEAL operators in the country's history. He had completed dozens of classified missions across the world. Several commendations were still partially redacted. His teammates had described him as fearless, disciplined, and willing to sacrifice everything to protect others. Then, without warning, his military career had ended. He disappeared from public life. No interviews. No medals displayed. No recognition. Only silence. Emily turned another page. There was a faded photograph clipped inside the folder. It showed a much younger Daniel smiling while holding a newborn baby wrapped in a hospital blanket. Emily leaned closer. The baby wore a tiny silver bracelet around her wrist. Emily's breath caught. Lily had been wearing that exact same bracelet every single day since the orphanage had entrusted her to Emily 6 years ago. Her hands began to shake as countless unanswered questions rushed through her mind. For the first time in years, the billionaire who believed every mystery had a logical explanation realized that some truths were far more powerful than money. Emily couldn't stop staring at the faded photograph. The tiny silver bracelet on the baby's wrist was identical to the one Lily had worn since the day Emily adopted her. Even the small heart-shaped engraving matched perfectly. Her hands trembled as she carefully closed the file. For the first time in years, the billionaire who had built her reputation on facts and logic found herself overwhelmed by questions that no business report could answer. The following morning, Emily asked Daniel Brooks to meet her in a quiet conference room before the office opened. The elderly janitor arrived wearing the same gray work uniform, carrying his cap nervously in his hands. He looked uncomfortable, as though he already knew why he had been called in. Emily placed the photograph on the table. "I need you to tell me the truth," she said gently. "Who is this baby?" Daniel's eyes fell on the picture. His face immediately lost its color. For several long seconds he said nothing. Finally, he lowered himself into a chair and whispered, "I hoped I would never see that photograph again." Emily remained silent, allowing him to continue. Daniel took a deep breath. "Years ago, after one of my final missions as a Navy SEAL, I returned home expecting to start a peaceful life with my wife and our newborn daughter. But fate had other plans." His voice cracked. "My wife died only weeks after giving birth because of unexpected medical complications. Overnight, I became a single father." Emily listened without interrupting. Daniel continued, "I tried my best to raise my little girl. Every mission had taught me how to survive impossible situations, but nothing prepared me for being both mother and father." One rainy evening, Daniel explained, he had been driving his infant daughter to a children's hospital after she developed a dangerously high fever. On the way, another vehicle lost control, causing a terrible accident. Daniel survived with serious injuries, but during the chaos that followed, emergency responders separated him from his daughter. When Daniel finally regained consciousness days later, officials informed him that records from the accident had been destroyed in a fire that swept through part of the hospital archives. Despite months of searching, no trace of his daughter could be found. Everyone eventually assumed she had died. "I refuse to believe it," Daniel whispered, tears filling his eyes. "For years I searched every city I could. Every missing child database. Every lead. But eventually, I ran out of hope." Unable to live with the constant memories, Daniel left the military behind. He rejected medals, interviews, and public recognition. Instead, he chose a quiet life where no one knew his name or his past. "I became a janitor because it reminded me that every job has dignity," he said with a faint smile. "After everything I'd seen in war, cleaning floors felt peaceful." Emily slowly reached into her purse and removed Lily's silver bracelet. She placed it beside the photograph. Daniel stared at it. His hands began shaking uncontrollably. "There was only one like this," he whispered. "My wife had it custom-made before our daughter was born." Just then, there was a gentle knock at the conference room door. Lily peeked inside. She smiled the moment she saw Daniel. Without hesitation, she walked over and hugged him tightly once again. This time, Daniel didn't pull away. Tears streamed down his face as he embraced the little girl he had spent years believing was gone forever. Emily quietly watched the emotional reunion. A DNA test conducted that afternoon confirmed what everyone's hearts already knew. Daniel Brooks was Lily's biological father. The room filled with joyful tears instead of words. Emily feared Lily might choose to leave her, but the little girl simply took both adults by the hands. "I don't want to lose either of you," she said. "You're both my family." Those simple words changed everything. Emily arranged for Daniel to retire comfortably, but he politely refused luxury. "I've never needed riches," he smiled. "I've already found the greatest treasure I ever lost." Instead, Emily created a charitable foundation in Daniel's name to help military veterans rebuild their lives after service. Daniel agreed to lead the program, mentoring former soldiers struggling to find purpose after returning home. News of the former Navy SEAL turned janitor spread across the country, inspiring millions. Yet Daniel never considered himself a hero. "The medals don't matter," he often said. "Coming home to my daughter does." Emily learned that wealth could build companies, buy homes, and change industries, but it could never replace love, sacrifice, or family. And every evening, as the three of them shared dinner together, she silently thanked fate for the little girl who had looked at a humble janitor and, without fear or doubt, simply called him Dad.